A big mistake a lot of swimmers make is kicking too much. But if you stop kicking, your legs are gonna sink. The best swimmers are able to swim high in the water without their legs sinking because of 3 specific things. But if you get any of these 3 things wrong, then you're gonna sink to the bottom of the pool. So here's what you should do first. But before we do any of that, you need to understand what proper body position looks like in the first place. I have 2 illustrations, illustration A and B. Let me know in the comments which one is representative of you. Are you the first swimmer who is looking down, high body position, and their body just levitating, floating on top of the water? Or maybe you're swimmer B. Your legs are sinking, your head position is up, and you feel like you're creating a ton of drag and you're getting tired and you feel so out of breath by the time you get to the wall. Now the reason for the difference between these two, even though they don't look that dramatic, it's because water is 800 times more dense than air. So any little imperfection you have in body position or anything that's not optimal is going to be magnified by that much more by the time you get to the end of your body. Remember, your body's like a vessel, or you don't want to be a cruise ship, you want to be a speedboat. And a speedboat rides really high in the water. Yes, your upper body is higher than your lower body, but the closer we can get that range, the distance between here and here, the smaller of a space that we can occupy, the faster we're gonna be. So you can see here, look how large this gap is right here. This is all drag. This is creating a ton of drag. It's slowing you down, and a lot of it has to do with the most fundamental component of body position, and that is balance. Now, when it comes to balance, there are a few major things that you need to consider. The first is just being able to float. A lot of people, they swim and they can't even float that effectively. So the next time you go to the pool, I want you to try this. I want you to literally float on your stomach. There are 2 kinds of floats. There's the front float and there's the back float. And the reason why this is so important is because it rewires your brain, your central nervous system. Because we get in the water, we start swimming, and your body's constantly under tension. Sometimes we don't give ourselves the opportunity to simply relax, disconnect, but stay connected in developing your feel of the water. And the only way that you can do this is giving yourself the time, the space, and most importantly, the patience, so that way you can actually feel what it's like to float within the water. The second thing is making sure you're paying attention to your core engagement. So even though you're floating, you wanna make sure that your core is engaged. Try and manipulate your posture. Try and feel what it's like with different body positions and levels of tension. That comes down to body alignment. You wanna make sure your eyes are looking down. That way it's going to lift up your hips and your butt. You don't want your legs dragging. Now, this is really hard for you to just do it floating on your front or your back. Then try pushing off the wall very slowly. You wanna have a little bit of momentum, but not so much like you're pushing off the wall to start swimming. This will help you with your body alignment. And then you wanna make sure that you have tension, the right amount of tension. When we swim, sometimes we have too much tension. So when you're swimming, you wanna almost feel like you're relaxed with enough tension to hold your body in line. That includes when you push off the wall for a streamlined float or when you're actually swimming. You want to be relaxed, but you also want to have engagement. And this is something that you really can't do on land. You have to practice in the water, and that's why we start with the float. You also want to try a few different dryland exercises that you can do on pretty much a daily basis. One of them is the dead hang. This will teach your body how to be longer, really expand the vertebrae. Make sure your body is getting its full length. Another one that I like is the alternating Superman. This again works on the tension, the core engagement. This is where you lift one arm and the opposite leg in an alternating way. This is fantastic for core strength, stability, muscular engagement, and of course body position. And then try and do some planks. Planks are great to build that tension, but also develop your posture and feel of the water. Because remember, when we look at our illustrations, we want to make sure our eyes are pointing down. It's going to push our hips up. A lot of this has to do with the tension that we can create in this midsection of our body. If we have no core strength or stability, it's not gonna happen. You can see here in swimmer B, there really isn't that good tension. The head is up, the legs are sinking, and there are a few other things that are contributing to this bad body position. Now, one of my favorite principles that I love teaching is the concept of swimming downhill. So if we take a look back at our illustrations, take a look at this. As if we have a hill. Look at the angle, the slope. This starts with the head position. So making sure your eyes are looking down will pull your hips up. Another way that you can feel this head position amplified is by your hand placement. You have to make sure that you're applying the right pressure in your pull. A big mistake a lot of swimmers make is pressing down, which is going to lift their upper body and sink the lower body. Instead, you want to make sure your fingertips enter the water directly in front of your shoulder, And then as you extend, you start to apply downward pressure with your fingertips, getting that high elbow catch. So instead of pressing down, which lifts your upper body, instead you're pulling yourself forward. And as you pull yourself forward, you have rotational momentum, your eyes are looking down, and it feels like you're swimming downhill. This is one of the most powerful things that separates the elite swimmers from intermediates and beginners. Because when you're just getting started, you're in survival mode. You're just trying to pull your arms. And as you get better and better, even for myself, when I compare my swimming against an elite Olympic level swimmer, this is one of the biggest differences, is how an elite athlete is able to get their fingertips to drive down. The earlier you can initiate this catch, and the earlier you can have that feel of the water with your fingertips driving in that high elbow, the more efficient you're gonna be, but also you're gonna keep your body position in check and prevent your upper body from feeling that pressure that's gonna sink your hips. And then here's some drills that you can do in the water. My favorite is the fist drill. Remember, we're working on this early vertical forearm. The best way to do that is putting your hand in a fist or grab some tennis balls, and that way you can really feel that engagement, and it'll prevent you from pushing down. Now, another way that you can really build off of this fist drill is what I call the finger progression. So basically start with a fist drill, do 225s like that, then you're gonna add in one finger. So now you're starting to reintroduce a little bit more front pressure. Then you go 225s with one finger. Then you go 225s with two fingers. Then three fingers. You can alternate your hands in different positions, and you build your way up back to a full pull. Now your hands should feel a lot stronger, and you shouldn't feel the need to press down like that. Instead, you wanna make sure you're getting your fingertips to drive down, elbow up, and you pull yourself forward. Now another drill is with fingertip paddles. We want to put the pressure right on our fingertips instead of feeling the resistance as we push down like this. So focus on getting your fingertips to feel the most resistance. If you don't have smaller fingertip size paddles, you can actually grab bigger paddles, take the strap off, grab it at the top, and then pull like that. Now let's talk about the third and potentially most important component, and that is the physics of swimming. More specifically, the physics of how you kick. Remember, a big mistake a lot of swimmers make is kicking too much. So let's talk about kicking and its purpose. We have balance and propulsion. Remember, your legs can consume up to 80% of all of your blood supply. It's sucking a ton of oxygen. But the added benefit of propulsion is actually minimal when it comes to swimming for a long period of time. Sure, if you're trying to swim fast, kick, move your arms, put everything together. But if you're swimming anything over 100 or a 200, let's say you're doing a workout or an open water swim, you're gonna wanna limit the amount that you kick, and instead of thinking about kick for propulsion, instead you wanna think about your kick for balance. It's balancing your posture and your body line. You're using rotational momentum driven by your hips to keep you moving forward. Now, when it comes to how many kicks you take per stroke, there are actually three different methodologies. The first is a 2-beat kick. This is where you literally have one kick for every arm stroke. Then you have, on the extreme other end, a 6-beat kick. This is when you're swimming as fast as you can. You have 3 kicks for every single arm stroke. Now, when you're doing a 6-beat kick, it's gonna be consuming a ton of energy. Now, if you've trained from when you were younger and you've been swimming your entire life, you may actually be able to default to a 6-beat kick relatively easily. If you're newer to swimming, or you're someone like myself who swam when they were a kid, but they never really developed a full 6-beat kick when it comes to training, then you're gonna wanna be closer to the 2-beat kick. This is where you use your kick, again, for balance, not propulsion. And then somewhere in the middle is a 4-beat kick. This is where you're working pretty hard, but you're not gonna get the full benefits of a 6-beat kick when it comes to propulsion, and you're certainly not gonna be as relaxed as a 2-beat kick. Remember, this is all coming from your hips. It's all about rotational momentum. The kick is not actually what drives the rotation and the propulsion of the stroke. It's actually your hip rotation combined with your shoulders, which is gonna give you this body roll. And the best way to do that is with a 2-beat kick. Now, there are a few things to consider when it comes to this hip-driven stroke. There are a lot of drills that you can do where you balance kicking on your side, but one of the best things that you can do is actually think about it incorporated with your breath. Now, breathing is one of the hardest things to master when it comes to swimming, but if you can incorporate the timing of your breath, the rotation of your body, everything is gonna click that much better. And sometimes you have to train at different speeds. Maybe you're using fins, and even if you have fins, don't overdo it on the legs. They're there for a little bit of added propulsion. If you're trying to go fast, go for it. But if you're trying to train for technique and agility and feeling comfortable in the water, then make sure you're more patient, work on hip rotation. And if you wanna watch a video where I did breaking down all the mistakes that people make when it comes to breathing, because breathing is so hard. You get to the end of the pool, you feel gas, you don't know how to nail these mechanics. Watch this video right over here when it comes to how to breathe. And remember, make sure you're following a plan. It's why we developed the MySwimPro app, so that way you know exactly what drills to do, what plan to follow, so that way you're not wasting your time in the water. I'll see you over there, and happy swimming.